Okay, sorry again. I thought I was streaming, but apparently I wasn't. Um, Sometimes streaming seems like it's a little more headache than it's. I don't want to say that it's worth, but anyway. So I'm gonna work on this hair sculpt later. Try to get this finished up, at least to a more finished point. I have some casting I need to do for a giveaway for later this month. It's going to be a mono white, all white figure. And then I have some parts I need to recast for a piece I want to put up in the store later this week. So I had a couple things there where there was some breakage, so I have to work on getting a couple of pieces remade. So I'm gonna make the replacement pieces first, so that can be out of the way while I'm getting stuff ready to cast parts for the drop later this month. So what I need is, I'm gonna remake the hip joint, so the ball joint part, so that's gonna be this mold, and then the two halves of the pelvis, because those both had some breakage issues. Well, the one broke because they put too much pressure on it, and that's had to do with the fit on the leg joints. But I have those fixed, so I just need to remake the things that broke accidentally. And then I have some armor I need to recast, along with a sword blade, because I have an order I need to ship out this week for those. So I've got like a few things stacked up I need to do. So I'm going to start here, because this will be, let's see, this is all the rigid stuff, so it's going to be task. Give this a good shake. Okay, so then I've been trying to make records of how much resin these various pieces use, so I can be better about my consumption. So I'm trying to make notes and then mark it on the molds when possible. So the pelvis halves are 5 millimeters, or milliliters. So that's 10 for these two here. This is 8. So that's 20. So I'm going to cast another head also. So these are all going to be the same material. So I'm going to do 30 mLs. That should give me enough for all the parts. And I'll probably have a slight amount left over. So we've got 4 molds we're going to work with. So the first thing to do is dust these all with mold release, so that it helps, the resin not totally bond to the silicone, to preserve the life of our molds. So I'm gonna go to my little fume hood here off to the side and dust these guys real quick. Someday I'll have a slightly better ventilation than I've got here. This way I just get closer to the fan. It works better. Okay. There's my cap. Okay, so 10, 20, 30. Alright, so then we'll do 15 and 15. Add our color dye. Let's see. That's too big. We need a smaller container. Where are all my little guys at? I hope that's got water stuck in it. My things back here on a drying towel. Just collect all this stuff real quick here. Well, I guess we'll need those in a little while, so we'll just leave them off to the side. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we'll mix in this guy. It'll be a little easier. Put those off to the side. Let's mark those 15 and 15. Okay, we're going to continue with the smoky black color. Oh, this is white. Oops, these bottles look the same. Yeah, I'm going to go with just a slight amount. Make sure all the dye is used. I don't want to like leave in streaks when I mix the other part in. Try to get all the dye if I can. Yes, you can't get all of it. Some of it just gets into like the little grooves of the plastic. But I do the best I can. Okay, so that's ready to go. Put these molds together. Even with this cut I added, this mold is still a little bit of a pain to align. So you gotta like force it in and then get these things down. Still not in. Gloves are so big. Alright, I think they're aligned. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's out of place now. Should have bought like the smaller size of gloves. These things are massive. It's like I got pillowcases on my hands. Okay. I'm a little concerned about like leaks with these, so I'm gonna rubber band them just as an additional security. I've been pretty good about not leaking, so it's not like a huge concern. It's more like a slight paranoia. I also don't want these to be super tight. I don't want to deform the molds at all. Actually, the smaller one goes on this. Gloves. Just gotta make sure they're not creased or anything. No, this is all fine. Actually, let's move this guy down just a little bit. Okay, so then we're going to go descending order. So we're going to go in this order for pouring, just in case we run out, which we shouldn't, because that's why I've been trying to get the math right, or get the amounts right, so that I always have like the right amount. I gotta prime the pressure tank. Got the respirator on, those fumes are bad. So, leave our little blinky notice up. fuck. Jesus Christ, come on. Get like tangled in straps and wires and stuff because my headphones are wired. So they get stuck under the straps for the mask. Let's see. 9. So I need, what is it? 5, 10, 15, 20, right? No. 10, 20, 30. Yeah, I'm doing 30. For some reason I had like 40 in my head, I don't know why. I second guess myself a lot of these numbers. I'm just trying to reduce how much of this gets like into the like ring of the lid, because the stuff crystallizes when it has like long-term exposure to air. So the more of it in the top here, the more likely it can like kind of crystallize the lid closed. It's just a chemical reaction that like spreads the more of it's in contact. So I try to keep it like at a minimum. Too much shit. Put the wrong line. Alright, better. Okay, I think everything's ready, so I'll just jump into it. Let's see. Yeah, I guess that's as good as any of these. Sometimes the smaller ones, like, it's actually more difficult to mix it because it's more likely to splash everywhere and make a mess. Trying to get as much of it as I can. The less of it I waste, the better. When it comes to the other part, it's going to be a little faster than that. I don't quite have as much time to goof around trying to get every last drop out. on, scrape. Just trying to get all of it, so and that's what I get for being hasty. Jar's also overfilled. Some days there's just like lots of little headaches. That's fine, I can wait until I'm done with this to be cleaned up. This is like real cloudy right now, but once it cures it'll be transparent again. It's just the initial mix looks like this. It becomes opaque. Just gotta be sure it's like thoroughly mixed and it should be good. It still has like streaks in it when it's like fully mixed. So it's just a thing you get used to seeing, that it's not going to be like a consistent color. I'm also going to inject it, so it's got like, it's going to go through, you know, that. So it's going to get passed through like a small channel, which will kind of force it to mix. Even if it doesn't look that way. Now, as long as it's like most of the way there, it's fine. Sorry, it's just really messy today. It's not usually like this. Well, at least not to this extent. It's always a little messy. Alright. The mold's ready. I'm also really flustered today for some reason. So just even pressure. You want it to fill and be able to force the air out. So you don't want it to, you know, fill too quickly, because it can cause like air to get trapped. Pretty much once it emerges at the top, it's good. See if I can get enough to make this head. I feel like it's going to be a little short. Like 6 millimeters. It's supposed to be closer to 10. So hopefully I can just scrape the rest of it into there by kind of making a mess and then just putting it into this vent here. What I use should be enough for the part itself. But I need like excess to fill the reservoir. Because if that's not adequately full, it'll try to, so when it compresses the resin, like with the air in the resin, it will want to pull it down. So if there's not enough resin, you know, all that's left to pull down is air, so then you get like a big pocket at the top. This is going to be a mess when I go to take it out, but as long as it's good right now. Actually, I can scrape a little bit off of these. There's some excess here that I can borrow. Yeah, alright, that should be good. So this will be a little sloppy when I come to opening it up, but there should be more than enough for the parts themselves, which is all that really matters. I just gotta clean up real quick. Well, quick-ish. Using the clean stuff for this and not this, but so we are. So it's kind of a off day. I feel like everything's like right on the edge of going wrong. Which means it's like it's a good reason to just kind of try to take a little extra time. At least with myself, I found that if I feel like flustered, every mistake I make is gonna like amplify that feeling. And then before I know it, I've had like a terrible day and so I'm just trying to remind myself to take a breath, and sometimes things just are messy, and that's fine. You got it. I'm gonna retire this towel. That's pretty saturated. that up. Start with this guy. Sometimes these streams where no one's really around is probably good. There are moments where I don't know, I don't feel like I'm doing that great of a job as like an entertaining presence. And then, you know, I'm doing all this cleaning and feeling kind of, I don't know, kind of crummy, I guess. Like, it's not like the most positive environment. It's something I struggle with personally. Like being proud of myself for making mistakes and things like that. I guess I don't need this respirator right now. I really like to test cables. I just can't really afford a nice pair of wireless headphones at the moment. Turn off the respirator icon. And scrape the bottom. This part like, sometimes it feels like it's impossible to remove from things. You just have to take like multiple passes at it to try to clean it up. Sometimes it like starts to turn to like a gel when you expose it to alcohol, even though it's supposed to be a solvent. So it can be frustrating when it gets a little gummy when you're trying to wipe it out. I need to grab another bottle of alcohol so I can refill this spray bottle. The spray bottles help a lot with controlling like consumption, because I'm not using like an excessive amount to do the thing I'm trying to do. No. Alright, I have a pile of stuff here that needs to be washed. So do I do that now or later? So it needs to be in for an hour. Probably put it in 10 minutes ago. So 2:45. So 3:45 roughly is when this stuff can come out. I should probably work on this. Okay, shoot, I need to go get some water. Okay, that's water. So I need to grab a little bit of water. So I'm going to use Apoxie Sculpt and do a little bit of sculpting on this. I was sanding this head sculpt yesterday, and then cleaning, trimming some parts. So there's a lot of like stray dust. been using more of this stuff than I expect, so I'm just going to keep it off to the side. I'll just use the same towel. So to like better define the shape of this hair, I did a lot of sanding yesterday with a like this triangular file, and it helped a lot with trying to turn this like pile of stuff into something that kind of sort of resembles hair. So I need more like things like this where there's, you know, a strand like sticking out. Sorry, it's trying to angle it so it looks, you know, more like the hair's got some volume. And so the gray stuff is all sculpey firm, which is a fine material, but it's not very strong like by itself. So it breaks really easily. So basically what I want to do is I want to build up the tips here with Apoxie sculpt. I want to kind of build like a body around them so that I get it to stick. Because this stuff is pretty strong. Like once it dries, it becomes pretty hard. And then it'll let me, Jesus Christ, it'll let me shape it a bit more so I can get like these little peaks of hair and whatnot. So I'll be able to sand away like kind of around and under it. Just gotta make sure enough of it is attached to like the surrounding form so that it doesn't like break off once I start sanding it. So they're just gonna be like weird little bumps. I wish I could sculpt without these gloves on. It makes it difficult to control this stuff. This stuff is like kind of, it's not like toxic, but it sticks to everything, or well, in theory anyway. So there's a fine film of it on the gloves, and I'd prefer not to have that on my skin. So I just go slow and build this up. See, like it's supposed to stick, but it doesn't. So then it just pushes the whole mass around. It's gonna be difficult to kind of get it started on a spot. So kind of have to just like slop it on almost. And then I crush this one because I'm holding the head instead of something else. I'm going to get a scrap body I can attach this to so that I have something a little bit more secure to hold it by, so I'm not like squishing the stuff that I'm sculpting. Because right now that's what I'm doing. It's just messing up the work I've already done. Okay, so those two guys are good right now. This thing is, just do it like that, because then it won't squish it. And I'll have a scrap body like right here. I can use. Actually, I should probably put the torso there, pelvis there too, so I have something just like more to like hold on to. It'll make it easier to handle the part without damaging stuff I've sculpted. I need to make like this kind of like torso type thing, but like a thing I can kind of hold on to. It'd be a little bit easier. Today just is not my day. Okay. That's probably good enough. So I'm going to do that kind of around the top, try to make these little, so there's like one strand there that I showed you that I got to keep. I want to do more of those. So I'm just going to keep this kind of where I want it to be. It's going to be hard just to like stick to both sides. It'll be a little ugly at first. I might have to put a second, like, not a coat, but like another layer on over this to increase like the mass size. But some of these are still too small, or they're gonna be too small. I just feel like rough sanding the area I want to put this epoxy sculpt down on would help, but I don't think I would. I think it's just a trait of the material. It like doesn't really stick that well at first. Sorry, sinus issues. Guess I'll do this back one. I think maybe I just gotta put a lot of it on and then shape it later once it dries. Instead of trying to put like a small amount on, maybe I just like just slop it on in like a chunk. Just chunk it down. Hey Ola. Yeah, I like have chronic allergies. I'm always like sniffling, even though I take like allergy meds for it. I've yet to find a solution. I have these little antihistamine tablets I can take that do help, but then I like want to fall asleep. So that's not really the kind of help that I'm looking for. Let's see. There's like a big divot in here. I need to like build something up there. How's it, my corner of the world? It's okay. It's a little cool today for being the desert. It was starting to creep up into the 90s, and then now it's kind of back down into the high 70s, low 80s. So that's, I don't know. I don't know if it's unseasonable because we've only lived here for this is our second year. But it's weird when it's like really hot outside and then, you know, it's like windy and cool. Because you kind of get used to it being hot and you just expect it. Not that I'm complaining, it's just a little unusual is all. Still learning like when the seasons change, like when does it get consistently hot versus like kind of the temperate, more wintry weather. When I say wintry weather, I mean like, I guess it does get down to like the high 40s in the winter. So it's pretty cool, like for being a desert. How about you? How's your corner of the world? Yeah, I mean it's different in the desert though. It's not like you don't get that humidity that you get in like other places. So it's much more it's much easier to kind of like, you know, live with it. I actually like the heat, so to me it's good. I grew up in the northeast of the U.S., so I'm pretty used to. Well, I've had my fill of cold weather, but my partner potentially has a job in the northeast again, so we might be moving back there despite just getting away from there 2 years ago. But it's hard to turn down, you know, permanent money. Your corner of the world is pretty chill. Stormy season where I am, so days where it's rainy, others where it's hot as fuck. Yeah. I feel like there's a rain system coming because it's like weirdly cold and windy today. I've never sculpted hair before, so this has been a learning experience, to say the least. Well, I wouldn't call it free money, because, you know, she still has to teach the classes and do all that. But she's in a postgraduate, like, temp position, postdoc position now, so it's like she still has to find something, you know, beyond where we are now. I mean, this is like a long-term temporary thing, so she doesn't have to leave right away. We've also been kind of nomads for the last 15 years, so we're, you know, kind of excited to stop moving around, at least for a little while. Yeah, someday we'll get that UBI, and, you know, artists like us can actually, like, you know, do art and spend all of our time on it. So that's the dream, anyway. Like, we have to get there at some point. There's just not going to be enough to support everyone. But that's above my pay grade. I was reading this thing yesterday about, well, it was like a comment. Imagine that moving all the time can be daunting. I moved twice in my life, and each time was stressful. Yeah, it can be. We've gotten fairly good at moving. I mean, I don't know if that's something I should brag about, but we've moved a bunch of times. So we've gotten really good at, like, packing and stuff and organizing everything, and we also have gotten to the point where we, like, hire movers to help with, like, the physical part, just because, you know, it's faster, like, they're more efficient than having friends help out because they do it for a living. So we've definitely tried to, like, find the ways that make it easier, or at least less stressful or whatever. This shag is much thicker than I thought it was going to be. But we're just going to run with it. I had originally made this with just, like, strands of clay, and it looked pretty good, but then it wasn't really feasible for, like, for molding. So I had to start filling it all in, and then it turned into this I don't know, this clump. So now I'm trying to wield this mess into something that looks like hair. Oh, the thing that I read, sorry. The thing I read about UBI was, like, because somebody made a comment about, like, people living on the dole, and somebody asked, like, what's the dole? And so they were saying, oh, it was a slang term, or is a slang term, in, like, England for people who were, like, you know, living essentially on welfare or whatever. And they were saying that a lot of musicians in the 60s, 70s, 80s in England were basically living on welfare. But if those systems didn't exist, then, like, a lot of music wouldn't have happened. Like, apparently the Beatles wrote their whole first album while they were living on, you know, on welfare. So they could just work on the album and not, you know, spend time, like, doing another job. And that if they didn't have that opportunity, then, like, you know, the Beatles would may never have existed, and may not. And so, like, the course of music may have been, like, very different. And that was just like one example of like, and there were some other like punk bands and whatnot that were listed, but the Beatles was like the biggest one. And I thought that was interesting because I didn't know that. And there's like how many things could be, you know, how many great artists or well, just significant artists or even engineers or, you know, poets or whatever like exist and don't have the opportunity to like devote time to their art because they're, you know, working at Starbucks or in a factory or whatever, and spending time doing that instead of, you know, creating. And I'm kind of like that. I worked off and on over the years doing a variety of things, and we're in a position where after me supporting my partner for so long, she was like, you know, the plan was like when she got a permanent job that I could take a break from working and work on this stuff. So we're like finally at that point. So I'm actually able to do this, you know, to try to see if I can make this into something. And it's, you know, it's a lot of time for like one person to do, but I was trying to do it while working different jobs over the years, and it's like it's difficult because it takes a lot of time, you know, to learn how to do all this stuff and learn how to do it well and not just doing it. So it's been, I feel like, fortunate that I'm able to have that opportunity that others don't, or they're doing it on their own and trying to find time. It's a great argument for UBI. I've read things saying it would stimulate the economy and lessen death healthcare issues if they were implemented, but I'm paraphrasing to high hell. It's nice that you and your partner have an arrangement like that. Yeah, I think it definitely would. I mean, because like stress is a killer. You know, my partner and I were just talking about that last night because she has a campus visit coming up next week. So we like speculate that they're gonna make her an offer. You know, because like why would they fly her out across the country to, you know, just like say hi and show her the campus? I mean, it may very well be that, but like we're just assuming that there's an offer, right? And so the stress of like all of that and thinking about, you know, do we try to buy a house like right away? Do we rent? Because like all that stuff is, you know, additional costs and expensive, and then she's also, you know, applying for other jobs and not putting all her eggs in this one basket. So there's like, and her mom is like stressful. She like wants to help, but also creates a lot of stress. So we've talked about like, you know, how trying to manage her stress is important because, you know, it like can affect her health. And so yeah, having something like UBI or even, you know, because people are not having to worry about like, oh my God, can I like pay my rent this month? Can I eat? Can I pay for my utilities? Like that causes a lot of stress, and it's not as simple as like just work harder. Like some people are working as hard as they can, but it's not enough, you know. And a UBI would go a long way to alleviating some people's stress. I mean, probably a lot of people's stress, really. And like, you know, that stress reduction could be really beneficial for their like not just their mental health but their physical health. But until we can get, you know, enough people to get over this idea that like, oh, you're just gonna pay taxes for someone else to slack off, like most people are still gonna do something. They have things they want to do, they just maybe can't do them because they're trying to, you know, live financially. So it would, you know, plenty of people that would take up things. They would go to school and learn new skills and start businesses, and I don't know. So I think it's a good thing, or it would be a good thing if we could get it rolling. You know, people here working 3 or more jobs and can still barely make rent. Oh god, that's terrible. Yeah, and that's like not uncommon either. And of course the people who are like against helping people are probably sociopaths. Or are already like well off, you know, so they of course don't want anyone else to get any help. Because they're like, I didn't get any help. Why should I help anyone else? Like that? No, that's not how you build a. That's not how you build a healthy society. Like a healthy society, people help each other. Just to help each other, not because there's something in it for them. You know. And I grew up like kind of poor, so I guess I empathize more with people who struggle financially. It's gonna be a mess. That's gonna have to just be okay. The pandemic has I always hated that argument of, oh, we're just finding people to be lazy. No, yeah, exactly. It's like, sure, some people will, and that's fine. You know, it's fine. Everyone doesn't have to work. It's not the end of the world. The pandemic has definitely brought out the worst. The economic crisis, yeah, for sure. I just wish we could get more people to, you know, feel a little bit more empathy, because that goes a long way to finding solutions to problems. I feel like that lack of empathy is a big hindrance to you know, social progress. So I don't know if that's, you know, the lack of empathy is like learned by, you know, exposure to certain types of media or news, or if it's like a nurture thing. Was it, you know, their parents who didn't encourage empathy? Are they, you know, sociopaths? I guess it'd be psychopaths, or the ones who can't like create relationships. Your family has grown up poor, middle class, and yet hold on to the belief that we're funding the lazy people. But what they don't understand is that UBIs and free reduced healthcare would benefit disabled people like you. Yeah, exactly. Like that's like the, I don't want to say the biggest joke, right? That's not the right word. But like the thing that's so strange is like the right has conditioned people who are struggling to see other people who struggle as like their enemy, which is insane. Or they're not their enemy per se, but like they're like the reason things are bad and you can't help them. And yeah, it's like if you're struggling financially, like you should be all for, like, you know, helping people in your situation, even if it doesn't, maybe you got your stuff together or whatever. Yeah, we work our ass off, why shouldn't they? Like, yeah, like this like vindictiveness like rises because, you know, people are like conditioned to be like, you should do everything on your own. Like, no one does everything on their own. Nobody does. There's this guy, I'm like reminded of this guy I'm when I say friends with on Facebook, I met him once in real life, like through a friend, and he's one of these like, so he's I don't want to call him out specifically, but he's like a tattoo artist, and he is also like an artist, you know, so he like draws and stuff, and he's like, I think he's into hunting, I'm not sure, but he's like the kind of like a hipster looking guy, and he's like libertarian apparently, and he like posts all these like, all a man wants is to live alone in the woods in a cabin. And I'm like, well then why are you living in a city, like a democratic city, doing art as a profession, but you're like, individualism, you know, I don't know, it's very confusing. So like, if you really wanted to go live in a cabin in the woods, like, why aren't you doing that instead of like preaching to people on Facebook like you're some kind of a genius? I don't know, I just find it all very confusing. I don't know. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I'm definitely not in a position to really do anything about any of this stuff. He wants to be a prepper so bad. It definitely seems that way. I could see like the prepper tenets or qualities in some of that, because he, you know, he's like, he like smokes meats and stuff like that, and it's such a weird like juxtaposition of like character traits. It's like, who are you? So I haven't unfriended him because it's like a lot of his posts are kind of annoying, but at the same time they're oddly fascinating too, because of just these aspects that I feel like don't really live together very well. I just find it all kind of weird. So I just kind of watch, and I don't really say anything. We've butted heads a couple of times on some of his Facebook posts, so I just like quietly observe now. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's probably the only person like that that I know of. Well, that I see in any regularity on social media. I don't know how much more I can put on this before I'm just like mashing up the stuff I've already put on. I think I need to bake this before I can do anything else with it. And preppers are a whole other like ball of craziness. I read this, I think it was like one of those like Twitter memes, right, where it's a bunch of screenshots of like a series of tweets, and it was this person, she was talking about her brother-in-law. I'm gonna live in the comfort and convenience of the city, but I really want to live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Yeah. Oh god, that's just so ridiculous. Just like, I'm gonna do everything myself. Like, you're not though. Like, you literally live in a city. You would. Ugh, it's like so frustrating. It's like almost too frustrating to even try to argue with them. So anyway, so this story, this woman was talking about her. I'm pretty sure it's her brother-in-law, or no, maybe it's her brother. It's her brother. Okay. So he's a prepper, right? And I think he lived in Texas. So he was like down there when that blizzard and stuff happened. And he had apparently bought like, I think it was like tons of cans of like, or lots of canned food, and was going on and on about, you know, how he's not going to help anyone when they like, need it because they're, you know, dumb libtards or whatever. And so apparently he sorry about the bot. I'm still working on how to configure that thing. So sorry, just ignore that. I have to learn more about how to set like the different things it does. Yeah, so he like has all this stuff, and they, after, you know, a couple, no one's like heard from him for like days, and so he finally, I guess, gets in contact with his sister, or no, he's talking to their mom, right? And hey, I'm Gollings. Yeah, Nightbot is kind of a jerk. Yeah, so he like is talking to the mom, and the mom is relaying the story to the daughter, like secondhand, right? Because she doesn't want to talk to the brother directly and have him just like cut her out. So, you know, he's like, he doesn't have a phone charger, so he hasn't talked to anyone, and then he has like all of this canned food he can't open because their only can opener is electric. So he's just like dumb on all these different levels. And it just seems to strike a chord with like that kind of person. Not as bad as Automod. I think Automod is off. I'm not really sure. A lot of this is like default settings because I don't know what I'm doing. So I guess I can put a little bit under this thing. I'm gonna put this guy in the oven because I'm not sure how much more I can do on this thing right now without just smushing the stuff I've already put on. Yeah, total idiot. Texas is your neighbor, and the stories you hear from there are peak stupidity. I believe it. Alright, I'll let that cook for a little bit. Yeah, we live in Arizona, so we went up to the Grand Canyon for Christmas, like, because we'd never been to the Grand Canyon before. And so on the way up, we stopped, or it was to Vegas. I went up there for like a nerd thing. And so on the way up, we stopped to find, you know, some place to eat. And we stopped at this like I don't know, truck stop slash market slash restaurant slash general store. And so the guy behind the counter has like all this Trump stuff up, right? And while we're checking out, we just like, got some sandwiches, and he was like trying to sell us like silver bars and silver coins as an investment. It's just such a strange people that live in the Southwest. I mean, strange people live everywhere, right? But it feels like there's a concentration of stupidity in the desert. What do I need to do? I'm working on the hair. What was it? For another 15 minutes? No. Those commercials appear all the time here. What, for like buying bars of silver, and because the dollar's gonna collapse or something? Yeah, sure. I remember having a conversation with some people before it's too late. Yeah, because that's what, when society collapses, that's what you need are bars of gold and silver. Not, you know, food or clean water. So I was talking to these like friends of friends, and so the one guy was talking about, I don't know, it was during the like peak pandemic, so there was like you know, they were talking about like what happens if, like, you know, there was like talk of like Trump starting a war with China over something. I don't think it was trade war stuff. It was like actual like maneuvers, right? And I was saying that, like, well, if if the U.S. collapses, like there's like so much like fallout that it's like mind-boggling, you know, because everything's so intertwined that if the U.S. would be in a compromised position, that affects like the stability of the world, and then everything just starts to fall apart. Some Fox propaganda. Oh yeah. I don't understand how people get sucked into that nonsense. So I'm doing an all white figure for I'm gonna do this giveaway thing. So I gotta recast the back half of this chest piece cracked. So I gotta do that. I'm just trying to plan what I'm casting next. Is that now I have these like weird pockets where there's like little bits of time where like I don't necessarily have anything to work on because I'm waiting for, you know, something to cure and something to cook, and I'm not sculpting anything new at the moment. It's just the back. Yeah. So I need to cast this. Let's see. Parts that are in the oven. One thing that's a little bit annoying with casting all these different pieces is like trying to keep it all straight when I'm building multiple different variations of like which parts I need and what colors and how many. How do people get sucked into that? Live in the South, feel insecure about something, have your fears reaffirmed by Fox, use them as your only source of information. Yep, that sounds about right. There's this guy I used to work with back east, and he grew up in Buffalo, New York, and so the whole time that I've known him, because I worked with him like, I don't know, 15 years ago, he was a Civil War reenactor. Fox capitalizes on being the only channel that tells the truth, truth, quote unquote. So he does Civil War reenactments, and of course he's on this. He does the Confederacy, and he's like, so for some reason, for growing up in the North, in love with the South. Well, you know, the Confederacy when I say the South, but he's got no connection to that, and is one of those like, oh, the Civil War wasn't fought over slavery, it was states' rights, and like, it's just states' rights to keep slaves, right? So that's like, he's a nice guy, but that's another one of those things where I'm just like, I just don't talk to him that much because that's just not worth it. And then his partner's like, she's like rabidly anti-left. I don't know if she's right, but she's definitely like anti-left. It's such a weird. People are so weird. The things that they'll like let themselves get consumed by. Let's see. This is those three. Hands, feet, torso. I got the pelvis. I need the central part. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud to myself about what I do tonight. Most people who are verbally, actively anti-left are probably right or right-leaning, yeah. Because it's like that. It's weird because like a lot of people on the left or even centrist are kind of like indifferent, right? Like, you know, if someone doesn't agree with them, they're just like, okay, whatever, that's your opinion. But if you're like right-leaning, you know, they're not. You don't just disagree. They're like, they're the Antichrist. They're the demise of the country. It's gonna be that. I guess we could do this sword blade. I forget what this is. These are legs. Alright, I'm gonna dust these things with mold release while I'm waiting for stuff to cook. You're a centrist, but if I had to pick a side, it would be left-leaning. Yeah, I mean, there's that statistic or whatever, right, that most people, the majority, are centrist, because, you know, no one is, like, really fully right or left. That there's, you know, it's a scale. But well, the other issue is like we don't have a truly left party either. We have like the centrist Democrats and with the far right Republicans. So we don't even have anyone that represents the left. We have like people within the Democratic Party, like Ocasio-Cortez and the Squad and stuff. But like we don't actually have a left party. We have a center-right party and a far-right party, which is really unhealthy. We need more than two parties. Oh yeah, for sure. I was telling a friend, this is another comment, another guy who's like, he's right-leaning, he's very like pro-gun and whatnot, but he's like fairly liberal in his like social views. And I was like, it's kind of weird for people who are right-leaning, but don't like Trump, right? Because I know this is like past tense, but like, there's no one that represents moderate Republicans. You're either far right or you're a scummy libtard. It doesn't matter like where you fall on the spectrum. If you're not like far right, they're like, you're the worst. I hope I got another can of mold release because this one is almost empty. Nope. Well, I guess when I run out of mold release, I'll be done casting for the day. Okay, so these guys, I gotta figure out how much of this I need. 15. I think this is, how much is the blade? Where's my little chart? I don't have that, so I gotta figure out the amounts for these. I'm trying to get the numbers down, or pay more attention when I'm casting, like exactly how much resin I'm using, instead of just guessing. Where I hate that it's the pandemic was politicized because it happened during. Oh my god, yeah, like that was just like the perfect storm of like stupidity. Like the last thing we needed was someone like Trump in charge. And with a situation like the pandemic, it's just too dangerous for everyone. And obviously it was, because 500,000 people died, which is horrible. Let's see, 15 here. I think it's my last estimate on the hands. We'll say 5 a piece. So 20, or 15, 20, 25. This is probably 5 to 6, so 30. 15, 1, 2, 3, so 30 here. And this is what? Last estimate is 10 a piece. So this is probably closer to 8. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 40. I don't know, 45-ish, 44. Just trying to see what my maximum I need is. So if it's 44, that's 22. I guess I'll just go to 50 and then monitor the usage. Try to monitor the usage. See if I can. My brain will work this time. Sorry to bring up politics in chat, but it just pisses me off so much. No, it's fine. I mean, I'm pretty open at talking about almost anything. I mean, in my earlier streams, like before my 2-month break, there was plenty of like political chatter, so no worries. This is gonna be 3, 4, and this is all task, right? So it's gonna be the harder stuff. Yeah, so many unnecessary deaths. I mean, I don't know, it's like, right, that's such a weird term, right? Unnecessary deaths. Like, how many deaths are necessary? But, because my freedoms for wearing a mask prevent the spread of a deadly virus, yeah. My partner's a physical anthropologist, so she's like, you know, very into science and whatnot. And when it started, she was like, everyone should be wearing masks like immediately, because, you know, it's as far as we know, it's an airborne virus, and that's like definitely a way to slow the spread of something like that. 20, I'm gonna say 44. So if it's 45, half of 45 is 20, 22. So 25, I guess. I'll just go 15. I spend more than I want. So we'll go there. We'll go there. Yeah, and it took what, a few months before even the CDC was like, yeah, we should wear masks. So how close is this to being done? This is gotta be okay that I can pull it out. 1, 2, 3. I think 2:45 is when I poured it. I'm like I'm in a time dilation vortex. I don't know how long I've been sitting here. Speaking of viruses, like, I remember when it was announced, I looked at my fiance, who I was visiting at the time, was like, I wonder what that's about. What's that, the mask announcement, or? Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm following you. Well, your line of discussion. Actually, I'm scheduled to get my second stabby on Friday, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's weird to be excited to get a vaccine. It's such a strange place to be, you know. Like, when people figured out it was a thing, the virus being announced. Yeah, it was super weird, right? It seemed like surreal, because we've like, well, in the U.S., like, we've lived in that pocket where, you know, the bird flu and stuff was like, it was like an issue in other parts of the world, but it wasn't here. I prefer the vaccine over getting COVID. Oh, again? Holy crap! I'm sorry. That sucks that you had it. My sister had it. I mean, she's a nurse, so it was probably inevitable. Yeah. I will happily get the vaccine. I mean, I already did. I'll be on dose 2, so it's weird because it's like you're protected, right? But then it's still like a thing, and it's gonna be a thing for, you know, a while, years probably. Because we were talking to a friend of ours. She lives in Toronto, and she's I can't remember if she's a citizen, because she's from South Africa, and she got her PhD, and she was doing a postdoc in Buffalo at my partner's last university, and then she got this permanent job. Well, her partner got a permanent job, and then she's a spousal hire, so they moved up to Canada, and we were talking to her last week, and she was saying that, like, there's still the rollout has been fairly slow in Canada, and she's really surprised by that. So she's like, I don't know when I'll even be able to get it, because they just had it to, like, to 65 and over, and, you know, certain medical conditions, and she's, you know, in her early 30s, mid 30s or whatever, and, you know, healthy and stuff. Your mom's a teacher, and a student of hers carried it and then infected the whole family. Oh my god. I'm sorry. Yeah, that happened to friends of ours. They, their sitter, she had COVID and got over it. I think this is the story, that she had it and didn't tell them. until she was like, I don't know, a week or two into like having a positive diagnosis, and they were like, what the fuck? Why didn't you say anything? And I don't think any of our friends' family got it, like her immediate family. But still, it's such like a strange situation, you know, to like have this person be like, "Oh yeah, I have COVID, by the way. You know, no big deal. P.S. I'm gonna go on spring break next week." Like, what the fuck? Rollout in countries outside the U.S. has been agonizingly slow. My fiance's in Mexico, and they're still on their elderly stages of rollout. That's how Canada sounds too. They're in the same situation, and I don't know enough about the politics of it. I don't know if that's like a side effect of like, I don't know if the U.S. like bought priority, or how priority is like determined. So I feel like there's probably some political factor there that's affecting like the rollout, or maybe not even the rollout, but like the availability to countries so they could even have it. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to understand the inner workings. So we'll use that. I'm gonna open this pressure tank. I gotta pull these other molds out, so there might be a little bit of sound. No, that wasn't too bad. I don't know if it's politics or because the U.S. has been the hub of vaccine manufacturing. Yeah, that's probably a factor. I don't know enough about the other ones, because these companies have like facilities in like, I assume like other first world countries, right? So it's probably like manufacturing being done in different parts of the world. I know the U.S. is giving Mexico their rejects, not FDA approved, as an incentive for them to block their southern border. Oh my god. Such a strange, like, we're gonna extort this life-saving vaccine from you, or for you, to you. I don't know, how do you extort it to someone in exchange for, like, you know, political favors? That's also very weird and a little sociopathic. These aren't quite set up yet. I'm gonna put these in the oven. I think it's still wrong they didn't open source the vaccine. Yeah, and especially like, because I guess governments are paying for it, right? They're buying it off these companies. It's not like your insurance is paying for it. Oops. Well, okay. Just gonna delete that. Okay. Well, I put this guy in the oven to cook, and his hair is okay, but this got all warped and destroyed. So I guess mental note: don't put classic toys in a 150-degree oven. But you know, lesson learned. Let's see. All right, so round 2. 254. Indeed. That's okay. It's not the first piece that I've sacrificed for this. this one needs a band, the other ones don't. Should be good enough. Alright, so let's see. Descending order is going to be torso, these two, and then this. So I gotta, where'd it go? I slap on my respirator so I can, not get toxic poisoning. Because that's bad. I've seen like a number of like workspace photos on Instagram, and the number of people that I see that aren't like wearing gloves or like a respirator and working with this stuff, I want to shake them, because this stuff's not safe, at least not in liquid form. It ain't Play-Doh. Not that you should be ingesting Play-Doh. I mean, safety equipment sucks. Like, these gloves don't fit right. Obviously wearing the respirator sucks, but like, I like living. It's okay. Alright, so I'm gonna prime the beast. Mix this stuff together. Yeah, absolutely. Pot's hungry. He's like, it's been an hour, feed me. He's worse than my cat. I feed my cats and 10 minutes later they're like, hey, you know what would be awesome? Some food. I'm like, I just fed you. What are you doing? Cat's like, how about a snack? That food was good, but I'd like some more of that. I'm like, but you just puked it all up on the floor. So, I guess. I have one cat who chronically barfs, like, I don't know, probably like once or twice a week. Yes. My one cat, they go outside, and of course he likes to eat grass. She's like, this grass is delicious. He's like, wait a minute, this was a horrible mistake. And then proceeds to, like, deposit his food on the floor. It's like, thanks, buddy. It's not like that food isn't, $50 a bag. Yeah. He does love his grass. It's like his favorite part of going outside.
we all go out in the backyard, and he just like goes straight for the little patch of grass. And he's like, "This is heaven." Got that. Got that. Let's see. Get that. Get that. I always gotta like triple check that I'm not like just gonna screw anything up, and then, you know, hope I still don't screw it up. Part of the fun of resin casting. Right. So just a quick wipe down. Yes. 100%. Yes. Resin's like, hey, how about this? What if I, instead of being in this container, stay with me, what if I was all over the floor? What about that? I like it. Are you into that? I'm like, no, Resin, stay where I tell you. He's like, come on. The floor's so cool. All the kids are on the floor. Stop it, Resin. You're a terrible influence. All of a sudden, alcohol's on the floor, and everything else is on the floor, and our patience is on the floor. Floor gang. Oh my god. The first time I had Resin floor gang, I was really fortunate that the people that were moving into our apartment when we moved out had demanded that rugs be replaced. I was like, lifesaver! Because I had made a critical error and made a oopsie onto the carpet. So, you know, I was like saved from having to pay the fees to replace the carpet. Dishes are done. Alright, let's see. Alright, so I'm going to try to monitor. I'll put the air bubbles out first. Alright, so start with 20. We know this is 15, right? So let's make sure it's still 15. Small leak there. It's about 15. Alright, so there's that. So let's see. We'll draw 15. So this is legs, right? Or feet. We'll see how much we get here. We'll kind of have it marked there. Alright, so about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's like 5 and 5 there. See if it tracks with the hands. $14. Alright, so 5 and 5. Okay. That's, man, it's like 2. Holy cow, that can't be right. Guess we're gonna ship it though. Yeah, it's like 2.5 each. That's a lot less than I expected. I'm gonna have to quickly find a trash mold. Alright, now this is 15. Let's see how much this is gonna be. 2. Wow. Man, my estimates were way off. I don't have another thing I can use. I need. Guess we're just doing another one of these. Most of it goes in there. Okay, 5, 5, 5 together. 2. I gotta make notes of that. Sorry, just trying to save as much of this as I can, set up for another way. So I can hopefully use it for something else. Don't mind me while I make a mess. Controlled mess? I don't know. Usually some form of a mess. I'm always trying to reduce waste, so I'm trying to like pay more attention to how much resin I'm using instead of like making just like general estimates. Cleanest mess you've ever seen. I'll take that compliment. Simmer down now. I always try to clean the syringe first. Try to reduce the chance it's gonna like get too much buildup in it. What am I doing? This tends to be where I get a little scattered. Trying to like get it while it's still liquid before it starts to get all slimy. I've like tried just leaving it and letting it like set and then trying to like chip it out once it cures. And the problem is like once it gets so thin, like this like film, it becomes a real pain in the ass to like remove it. Not that it's like sticking, just that it's so thin you have to basically scrape the whole container with like a metal thing, and it just becomes like I would spend like an hour just scraping the thin film off the container, and then trying to clean it up because there's like all the static electricity, and as much of a hassle as it is to like do it this way, I just end up doing it because it's easier. Thank you, Brain, for the jingle. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see. This is all murky now. So here's the clean stuff. I really need to, like, pour off these two alcohols because all the sediment builds up so fast. I've tried, like, straining it, but it evaporates too fast. I used to strain 91% in a old coffee filter, like an old coffee machine, and it worked fine for a while. But 99% just evaporates too fast, so I have to just kind of do it like this. Yeah, I guess I can take this respirator off.
Ugh. Yeah, I know like this kind of stuff is like not exactly interesting TV, but it's just unfortunately like a part of my workflow. There's no way to like you know, punt it for later because it's just this stuff's all time sensitive. So I do feel a little, you know, I wouldn't say bad, but, you know, a little, crummy that it's this, thing I can't really avoid. so I try to just be quick about it. Quick as I can, without compromising too much of what I need to do. That one's good. Yeah, one of the downsides of this as my streaming medium, I guess, is it's not as much start to finish, like I'm gonna do this thing today. You know, it's a lot of like small parts of a larger thing. So that would be a little more satisfying if it was like, you know, something to completion or whatever, seeing like the result of stages of work. I'm thinking about like something. I don't have to make some content for it, but something I could put up when I'm doing this kind of stuff that's like interesting to watch, but I don't know what that would be. Better to get several small things done than one big thing. Yeah, I had that problem for a while where I was like putting things off because I was trying to do like more at one time, and I eventually had to give in and be like, well, it's just, you know, it's incremental progress, right? It's like a series of steps toward a larger end goal instead of trying to make the short-term goal be the big thing you're trying to do, because that just creates barriers. So I've been trying to work on that, and I feel like it's been okay. And I'm like moving into this segment where I'm making a series of the same figures. So it's like, yes, I'm going to be doing a lot of like casting the same parts, you know, over and over to make like, I'm going to make 12, technically 13 figures. One's going to be this white one, 6 all black, and then 6 red and black. So it's going to be like somewhat repetitious. But there's like, it's like production, you know, there's not really like any way to avoid that. That's literally part of like what I'm doing is the whole, I'm making a series of things. So hopefully, you know, you and some of the other folks who are watching are here for that. It's weird. It's weird to like be making series of things, right? Like making runs of things as opposed to like a one-off. A one-off's like a more immediate goal, you know. But it's also kind of cool to see like, hey, I made like a dozen of this thing, and to see them all together is pretty neat. That you like, you know, did this series of things that resulted in this larger work. I'm actually going to retire these gloves. I feel like they're too cruddy, even though I could probably get more life out of them. Let's see. It's kind of like in art where artists make limited prints, but with resin. Yeah, yeah, it's very much like that. Ugh. What am I doing? Mental break. Pause. Get the stuff out. The guy's done cooking. I can look at those the hair bits. It's also been like I wouldn't call it a personal goal per se, but it's been interesting to be like working, no, I'm not working, sorry. To be like trying to refine like a process. Like I'm trying to, you know, because I'm using resin, I'm trying to be more aware of like, well, exactly how much am I using, like what, to like monitor costs and waste and stuff like that, as opposed to like, I'm just gonna, you know, sling it and not worry too much about how much I'm using. And, but that's just part of like my personality. I try to, you know, monitor my usage of things and reduce waste and all that. It's unfortunate that like packaging is such like a hard area to reduce your waste, you know, because everything's got 6 layers of packaging, and we were recycling like plastic bags and stuff at our grocery store, and they recently put up a sign that was like only grocery bags, nothing else, even though like other plastic bags are the same type of plastic. And I feel like part of that's my fault and I'm putting that sign up, because we would put like various types of plastic bags into the bag recycling thing. I guess I gotta use the Dremel for that. So I feel like I got spanked and they were like, stop it. I'm like, but I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make recycling work better. But there was an article that came out over the summer that was a little upsetting. It was saying that like basically recycling is a lie, and that you know, they're supposed to be, there's like eco packaging for shipping, but it's kind of weird that they're being stingy about plastic bags. Yeah, it is. I would assume that it's something like whoever is doing the collecting the bags is like very specific about what they'll take, and probably like, you know, reprimanded the grocery store enough times, and they were like, if we don't stop getting these, we're just gonna stop taking it. I assume it was something like that. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. Oh, and so the thing I was saying was there was this story that came out about how recycling has basically been a scam, and like it obviously is an industry. It does happen, but it like isn't to the extent that it's like it was sold as, and it was really just this like PR stunt by like, you know, oil companies and whatnot to get people to use more plastic, selling the people on this like lie that it was going to be recycled, which is a little hurtful. Well, there are some countries like my partner used to do. She did data collection in Rwanda for a little while for her dissertation. She was studying asymmetry in apes, great apes, if you are interested in what she was studying. But and she did a follow-up study on asymmetry in humans. But anyway, Rwanda has like banned plastic bags. Like you can bring them with you into the country, but like you have to take them with you when you leave. I don't know what the reprimand is if you don't take them with you, but that's like what they say. So like she was saying, it's like very difficult to get plastic bags there for, because they had like some stuff they had to dispose of that they didn't have like a better way to kind of seal it off. It wasn't like biohazard, but something kind of like adjacent. I don't know exactly what, but. So some countries have like made an effort to reduce like plastic bag usage. Not the US though. Yeah, asymmetry as in body growth. Yeah, so this is another thing that I know way too much about that I shouldn't, because I like science, but I'm not a scientist. So there's what is it? Directional asymmetry, and then what's the other one? The other one is FA. It's FA and DA. So FA is shoot, I forget what it is. So one is like the environment, right? External things that affect the symmetry of the body, stress, other things, hand preference. What's sad is that the invention of the plastic bag is meant to be used several times, but people make it seem like a one-time use. Yeah. We're those people who reuse Ziploc bags and storage bags and stuff like that. I like wash them out and like hang them up to dry, or I dry them out with a towel. So I'm definitely the weirdo that has like uses the bags until they start to like split and tear. And also, as you may have noticed, I keep all my molds in like deli meat bags because I eat a lot of sandwiches for lunch. That's like my default lunch thing is a sandwich. So I keep all the bags and I store my molds in them because then it reduces like dust collected on them, and then I can use them to like organize, like ones together or like similar ones or whatever. So I try to give them like a second life as like, something to store my molds and stuff in. Because like I don't want to just throw them away. I use too many of those bags to just throw them away. That's why like waste is such a thing I pay attention to with like my resin casting, right? Because I'm basically creating garbage. I mean, come on. Meaty molds now with meat smell. Yes. This is a watermelon mold. This is a turkey mold. Indeed. But yeah, so I try to think about like waste and stuff because like, I'm creating plastic, which means I'm essentially creating delayed garbage. So I try to be mindful of like, I know other people are buying the resin and using it and it's getting wasted, and it's like, how far down that rabbit hole do I really want to go, but it's like there's so little that can impact in the world that I'm like, well, this is a thing that I'm doing, so I should be conscious of like, the waste generation and trying to minimize that if I can, or as much as I can, instead of just taking like a fuck it attitude, because like people gotta live in the world, so it's, try to keep it as clean as possible. It's also, I keep all my scrap of any like reasonable size because I try to reuse it in other ways, whether I'm using it to as like a base for a sculpt, or as filler, or I use it to make vents for like things I'm gonna mold or what have you. I try to find like a secondary purpose for it, because it makes me feel better that I'm, I don't know, doing something instead of just throwing it away. It's not an indictment of anyone else, just like, how I approach the situation for myself. Because I know, like, with resin casting, like paper cups and stuff is popular, and wooden mixing sticks. I'm like, I'm not gonna come for anyone who's using them, because that's not, it's not cool, right? Like, it's fine to be like suggestive, like, hey, here's some like other ways you could reduce your usage or whatever, but you know, just like coming at someone's not really helpful. I'm not a corporation, so my plastic making isn't nearly as harmful as what I should be concerned about. That's totally true, right? Like, it's like the straw thing. People were like, you know, being shamed into using straws when it's not, you know, Sally getting her Starbucks drink or whatever that's causing, you know, all this pollution or whatever. It's the companies making 1 billion straws a year or whatever, or unnecessary packaging. This, like, you know, this movement started where they were like shaming the customer when, like you said, our personal usage is like so trivial compared to like what large corporations generate as far as waste. And so I'm, you know, definitely affected by that. And, you know, I'm like judging myself and being hard on myself about, you know, the usage and whatnot. I'm trying to like pump the brakes on it a little bit. Maybe like, yes, you threw away 3 ounces of scrap, like, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I mean, not yet anyway. Sadness. So yeah, I definitely am probably a little too hard on myself about like waste than I should be. My desk was like covered in this yellow dust yesterday. So I carved a lot of this down to try to get it to where it is now. I guess spent like hours just doing what I'm doing right now. I make myself aware. I mean, that's all I can do, you know, is just be aware of my footprint on the world, and like how I can try to reduce that even a little bit. What is that? It's like the saying is like, be the change you want to see in the world, right? So I try to like keep that in mind. Yeah. I don't know. I try to just get other people to think about that, you know, like my friends and people in my sphere of influence. Just try to help people be more like aware of their impact and what they can do. And also regulate corporations, because they need it. Let's see, how do I shape this under stuff? I think I'm gonna have to use like some kind of weird Dremel bit. I've got these dental bits. My buddy's a dentist, and he gave me like this like kit of stuff that he used when he was in dental school, and he's like, I can't use any of this, and I can't sell it either, so, or I don't want to be bothered selling it. So he just gave it all to me, and it's like these weird grind bits, and I have a couple little things. They're like hexagonal things of dental wax, because apparently like dentists do a lot of sculpting to make like new crowns for people and stuff, and you would think it's all 3D, but it's not. I mean, there probably is some 3D, right? But so he gave me like all this stuff, and I've been trying to find like ways I can use it, or places I can use it that maybe it's a little bit better than what I have. So I have some of these carving bits that are it's like a cylinder with like little teeth all like along the edge, but not like a saw. They are perpendicular, and I think it like has like it's either a cross or it's a triangle, like and it's just I think it's for chewing away like flat surfaces. So I've used that here and there, and it's better than some of the Dremel wheels in some cases, depending on kind of what you're doing. The wax is interesting. I've only used it once as like a filler, but it's a hard wax, so you have to warm it up. The process is fascinating. That's cool. So you like got to observe some of it. He's told me about it, like we've talked about it, but because I guess they have like, he works for some schmancy fancy dental office in Buffalo, but he also works at a one in a lower income area of the city, so he like floats between both places. And so he's like, our one place we have like all the toys, right? Because it's all like rich clients who don't have health insurance. They just pay out of pocket for everything, which is, I guess, is par for the course, because dental insurance in the US is garbage. So he was like, I play with that stuff when I have the opportunity. I forget where I was going with that. Sorry. I like asking questions. Never got to see the process, but I like knowing what's going on in my mouth. That makes sense. It's good to be informed, even like tangentially. It's like, sure, I'm not a doctor, but like I like to have some idea, like you said, of what's going on, and if I have to explain it to someone, or if I just want to know, because it's interesting. Yeah, I had 2 wisdom teeth out like a month ago, and so I was like, my partner, she's really into teeth because she's an anthropologist and she's a weirdo, and so she was like asking all these questions about what they were doing, and she was like, if you can keep your molars, I want them, because she's again a weirdo. And it turns out that they weren't keepable. He was like, I had to split them to take them out, so they're not in any kind of tooth-like shape. But he explained like the process and how he was going to do it, and he's like, this is very routine. You're safe, and everything's going to be okay. And he's very reassuring, which was nice. So I have images of the scans that they took, because they did these like CT scans. So she was like, that's so cool, I want a copy of that. So I have that. I don't really know what's going on in it. It's just some 3D pictures of my jaw at different angles, and that's about it. It's like a fancy x-ray. It's totally normal to ask to keep your teeth. That's what he said too, and he was like, I just have to see like the condition that they're in when we're done. He was like, they were just not, they weren't in a condition that, you know, they were just fragments. He's like, so probably wouldn't have gotten anything out of it. Which, I mean, you know, there's no reason for him to lie about it, so I believe him. Yeah, Dacidus is he's a creeper. He tends to like be there in the shadows, just like looking in from the alley. And every now and then he'll make his presence known. I need a beer. What time is it? 4:40? Yeah. I feel like I've been getting up super early lately, much to my discontent or whatever. So I've been starting everything earlier, and so now I get hungrier earlier, and I'm like, it's beer o'clock earlier. So I have to reconcile that. I guess I could, my partner's downstairs, I could just probably page her and have her bring me something up. Tend to either lurk or bend one's ear, and there's no in between. I'm usually there from the start, but prefer to lurk because I'm still working. That makes sense. But that's like what's kind of cool about Twitch, though, is like, you know, being able to just like put it on kind of in the background. But it's like, you know, you can interact if you want to, which is nice. I was like, when I started streaming in October, I was guilty of like being the, you know, the streamer who like doesn't watch anyone. They just stream and that's all. And so then I like, when I took this break in February, March, and so I started watching other streams, and yeah, it was good. I like being able to, you know, kind of keep up with what people were doing, and while still, you know, being productive myself. And it's like a little less, you know, lonely because this whole COVID thing, and I would be doing this from home anyway, so it doesn't really change anything. But yeah, exactly, Ola. Like having the option to like chat and, you know, have a little bit of interactivity is nice. Definitely helps with like, you know, isolation, anxiety, and all that with the pandemic. I'm gonna have to put like a primer or something on this because I can kind of see the form, but it's like a little unclear too. I can't quite tell like where some of these shapes start and end. I'm gonna get the Dremel. Interaction is important. I'm noticing an increase in my own creativity now that Neo has started streaming again. Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that. That I'm having a positive influence on you. Yeah, it's weird because I was like, when I started streaming at first, it was like to motivate myself, you know, and I did that. But then, granted, I was like, my hiatus, I was sick a little bit, then I had my teeth pulled, and so that was like all a thing. So I wasn't really able to be that productive. But it was crazy. Like I did notice that when I did stop streaming, like how much my productivity dipped, just like overall. This is one of the dental bits. The friend and gang has given me some inspo to do my own art stream. Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. Like I knew Frenda was streaming because he had mentioned it on Twitter, but I hadn't. Oops, I put the wrong one in there. So I was like, when I went on hiatus or whatever, I was like, I should start watching, Friendin and see like who else is. So that's kind of when I learned about like raids and stuff because I didn't know what those were, and so that was like nice. So I would stick around like when he would raid someone or other people would. So I would just like follow the raid like for a while. It's fun to just be chill for 4 hours, then be hype for 2.5. Yeah. The talking does get to be a little much sometimes. I noticed M. Collins yesterday she was like just being quiet. She was like, I don't feel like talking today, but like I'll be in the chat. And I thought that was cool too. Because like, yeah, there shouldn't be like this obligation that you have to talk, even though that's what everyone who like, is on any Twitch forum is like, you have to talk non-stop. And it's like, no, I don't have to do anything. This is gonna be, bring this light down here. Not sure how well this is gonna work out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna snap this piece off. I guess if I don't go at it too hard, it should be okay. Try to make those like little, I don't know what to call them, little like hair peaks. That's too big. Stream should be fun, not stressful. Agreed. If it's stressing one out, it's time to take a step back and see what one can change. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like felt a little burned out too when I dropped off. So that was like another factor. I was like, it's starting to feel like pressure, and I don't want that. Oh, shit. It didn't work. Nope, no, I broke it off. Awesome. Well, it is still sculpey, so I guess that's gonna happen. Yeah, when I do stuff like this, I tend to get kind of quiet because I'm trying to not do more damage than progress. And I haven't used this bit very much, so I'm trying to get used to it. It's not really doing what I want it to do. probably just can't do like the level of detail that I want. It's probably just not possible with this. That's just gotta be okay. You know how an artist process can get? Yeah, you just get like lost in what you're doing. It's not even really lost, right? You're just like, it's that this in the zone thing. You know, you just get like really focused on a thing and need to be reminded that like the world exists. Yeah, and for me, like I'm still like, I basically like teaching myself stuff as I go, so I'm definitely not any kind of expert. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. So we can learn together. I'll make the goose and others can learn what not to do to avoid goofing. Yeah, that's not going to work either. I thought it was going to, but it's not. It seems like it being this like pointed cone shape would be good, but it's not really working in the way that I thought it would. I'm gonna have to still carve that with a knife. Added more species to your fictional bestiary. It's getting out of hand. I say this all the time on my stream. Sometimes you gotta fail 100 times to succeed once. Yeah, totally. There you go, Tacitus. You got the invitation to go down to your nerd hole. This would be like this. Fartopia. It's pretty vacant at the moment. I keep it open in a tab though, so I don't forget about it. I've actually been starting to think about like, do I need to like make a world for like the brutes, or is it like, you know, they just exist and the owner infuses the world on them. So that's something I'm kicking around. I don't think too much about it because I'm trying to just focus on the like making them part. At least for now. It's not going to be... I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this. I think I'm actually just going to have to hand carve it, which is not exactly ideal. That means I'll probably have to replace a lot of this clay with Apoxie sculpt because it is not. Where'd my file go? This stuff doesn't carve very well, despite what it says on the box. I actually kind of like, I kind of like carving resin, honestly, because it's, once I have like the basic shape, it's so much more durable than clay. Because I can like, you know, grind it or sand it, drill it, and it doesn't, and it'll like take it. Whereas clay can like break apart and crumble, like it's doing right now. Even the epoxy sculpt, for how strong it is, it still will crumble if it gets too small, too thin, like it's doing here. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to get these little, I don't know what to call them, these little points. I try to carve this epoxy sculpt and it just like crumbles to pieces. I had good luck with the face, sculpting that, so I'm trying to find a way to continue that success here, and so far it has not been quite the same. I'm just trying to make it thinner than it can like go. That's also possible. Moistening a bit to try to carve it. Yeah, I don't know, this epoxy sculpt, this yellow stuff, once it gets like, once it's cured, it's pretty hard. You can still scrape it and like carve it and stuff. The clay I think is better when it's soft, like before I bake it, but it also doesn't hold its like shape very well because because it is soft. So trying to find like the right substance for sculpting like small free-form shapes that support their own weight has been kind of a challenge. I've been trying a lot of different materials. I know like with clay you typically just have an armature, right? But like, I don't know, maybe hair just can't have the standalone volume or shape that I'm kind of imagining. Maybe that's just that my expectations don't quite align with the properties of the material. So maybe I have to just like temper kind of my expectations. Bop it. You just gotta bop it. It's fine. It's really these little like ends here, instead of them being rounded, I want them to be like kind of like a talon. And I'm not expecting like, you know, some like long standalone strand, because that's not really, I couldn't even mold that if I wanted to. So I still want it to be like fairly small. Maybe this needs to be a bit more dull than I'm imagining. Do you have any figures that have the hair texture that you're trying to emulate? Not on hand. There's ones I could buy. I guess I could dig up photos. I have like an image in my mind, and I think that maybe that's just like part of it too. I guess like because I'm like learning, I'm trying to see, you know, where do my expectations meet what I can do. So it's like part of it is, I think, a path of like discovery of both the material, the tools that I have, and my own ability. So I'm trying to see like what are the boundaries of those things. A lot of this has been me kind of pushing the boundaries of like the things I'm working with and trying to see what I can squeeze out of them, like performance-wise. What about the female figure with the green outfit? That hair is very like shaped. Like you can see there's a swoop here, but this is all a separate piece. This is a separate piece. The hair's like 3 pieces. I know that's like, you know, one way to approach it. Is just to separate it. All the possibilities. And are they postable? Postable. Everything's postable, right? Can it be postable? Can we make it into a pasta? Yes. Yes. Maybe we should start up a little higher. So like this face, I did a lot of this with Apoxie sculpt, and a lot of it was just me scraping away at stuff that I'd sculpted on. And I was having pretty good results with that. And it was kind of slow going, but I felt in that way I had like more control over it too. So maybe I just need to like slow down my my pace expectation. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better about it. Because like what I've got so far just with using this file, like I'm fairly happy with the texture. I think I'm just trying to refine it into like a more final look, I guess. I don't know. I don't actually know what I'm doing, so I'm just making it out all as I go. Oh yeah, I've seen them too. I was watching this woman's tutorial on YouTube, and she makes like little like doll figurines with polymer clay, and she was sculpting hair, and it looked really cool. It looked like illustrated almost, which was really cool. And so I was like watching her make it, and she was kind of forming strands out of clay and gluing them together, but because she wasn't trying to cast it, it could be more freeform. Like if you could have like standalone flyaway parts. So I'm trying to just find like the medium in between those two things, where like it looks kind of like it's got its own form, but then it also is, you know, something I can mold. But like I said, part of this is like I'm also kind of having fun trying to figure out how to do these things. Because I think once it's like, if it was just like, oh, I'm just going to make this thing and done, ship it, it would be like a little less fun. I guess I do wish my like knowledge was a bit more, so that like I could be a bit more like informative you know, to you guys like watching and be like, oh, this is how I'm doing this, and this is my plan for it, and this is how I'm gonna make it look that way. Whereas in reality, I'm like, I'm gonna try this thing and see what happens. See if it blows up my face or not. So, both are fine, you know. Where's that? I like lost my place. Oh, I was right here. I mean, I would definitely approach it differently in the future. This woman I was talking about, I don't remember her eBay name, her YouTube name. I think I bookmarked a couple of her videos though, so I can dig them up and put them in the chat later, or just link to them. It's hard for me to look stuff up when I'm working because it's, you know, like I have a device beside me, but it's not quite like working at a computer. I mean, if I can't make it look the way I want, it's not the end of the world. I can roll with like how it looks. With tattooing, yeah, that's it seems like a almost like a dark art, you know, like you only learn how to do it by learning it from someone who knows how to do it. Yeah, I find the idea of tattooing someone very terrifying. I'm gonna try to get underneath this one. Yeah, I've been finding that a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I'm kind of having to just learn on my own. Like, there are plenty of resources for, like, making a mold, right? Like, that's not anything new. But, I don't know. I guess that's part of the thing if you're doing something that you're not quite sure what the end result is, and there's not really going to be, like, a definitive, like, this is how you get there path. You kind of, part of it's just like forging it on your own. And that's still cool because like you have a different sense of accomplishment when you do figure it out than you would if like you followed a guide. I'm not saying that that's like any kind of requirement that, you know, there should be like, you should do this on your own, like, you know, like we talked about earlier, like it's fine to like ask for help and ask for guidance and shit. Man, I just broke that top part off. Fuck. Awesome. And I had a feeling a lot of this was gonna break off when I did that. Tattoo fruits for now, but I can't imagine my first tattoo on a personal go. Yeah. I would be so scared. I would be like, are you sure you want me to do this? I'd be like, remember what you agreed to. Because there's no takesies backsies. Don't break off. Don't break off. Be a pal. And stay right there. Yeah, buddy. There we go. I'll just try to clean up this side without doing much more damage. Nope. Nope. Huh. Let's use the file. There's a difference between self-taught and being classically trained, and I find that being self-taught is more fulfilling. Yeah, there's pros and cons to both, right? Like, I don't have formal art training, but I wish I did because I feel like it would have helped me earlier on. I think it would have helped me with areas that I struggle, like with drawing. I struggle with perspective on people. Like, I get how to do it with like inanimate objects, right? That's easier. I learned how to do that stuff in like a drafting class, but you know, I didn't take like life drawing classes and things like that, so there's a lot of stuff that I like struggle with trying to do on my own, that if I had some more classical training that I might have been better at it. But I do agree, there is like, I mean, I'm completely self-taught, so you know, I understand the draw for that and the feeling of learning something on your own. So I have to lightly scrape it. Lightly scrape. Oh yeah. There must be rain coming. It's like really cloudy. It's never cloudy here unless it's gonna rain. It feels very chilly too. Not to be like completely off the topic, but just a thing I was thinking about. Ah, damn it! It's this sculpey firm. It's just not strong enough to support those. So I'm gonna have to remake those and with Apoxie sculpt, and that's just gonna have to be fine. It's just gonna have to be fine. It'll be fine. Fine, 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 fine. Both self-taught and classically trained, I found that classical was intense, stressful, and gave you immediate results, whereas self-taught was slow, painful, and can be frustrating at times. Yeah, that all sounds. I mean, I don't have like a lot to, you know, say about that, but it sounds correct. That it would be correct. I definitely find self-teaching to be frustrating at times. Like, it's good because you can kind of pivot to whatever you're trying to learn at the time. But that's also the problem, right? Is like you can switch directions too easily, which is a thing I find myself doing a lot. Well, I did. I've had to become really strict about like what I will and won't take on, like project-wise. Otherwise, you know, I get too off track with what I'm trying to do, trying to learn. Like I still dabble with programming every now and then, but unless I'm gonna go hard on it, like it's better just to, you know, kind of keep it as like a hobby and not give myself any real goals, because then that creates too many opportunities to get distracted from other things. Well, this is all turning out to be a bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Well, that's silly. This whole thing was going to be difficult. The hair. Since I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just bumbling along and trying to figure it out. Yeah, you can. I think you can post links. I think I set Rude Nightbot to any follower can post, or whatever the thing above everyone is. Like whoever follows me, I think can post links. Yeah, so you can give it a shot and see if it goes through. I think it should work. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought it was set for that. I guess it's not. Damn you, Nightbot, you jerk. You're supposed to be helping, not making things more difficult. You're not supposed to be creating work for me, you're supposed to be removing work for me. Stupid bot. You could just whisper it to me and then I can try to get it out and post it. Yeah, the whole bot and chat thing is, I find to be, it's kind of an obstacle for me with Twitch. Oh my god, come on. These things keep breaking off. Like, I'm a tech person, so like, I can figure it out, but like, it's a lot of like, you know, extra work when it's, when it's supposed to be, you know, a fun stream and I'm trying to like make art and whatnot while I'm doing it, and then it's like, oh, you have to come in and spank a Nightbot because it's being a jerk. So that's all stuff I'm like learning how to kind of navigate. And if I spend too much time, like I've wasted entire days like reading about bots and OBS chat and all this crap. So it's like, it could definitely become like a huge like black hole of time waste. So I've been trying to just set everything to like the minimum, like where everyone can interact but it doesn't require a lot of like oversight. I guess I just haven't found that sweet spot yet. Every time I think I got it, Nightbot's like, no. Remember me? I'm here to poo-poo on your parade. It's like, thanks, Nightbot, you're the best. Spankbot. I need a bot to spank Nightbot. Alright, I don't know what I'm gonna do about these strands. That's gonna... I guess I'm gonna just be putting on more epoxy sculpt and working with that, because every time I try to carve one out of the gray clay, it just breaks off. So I'm definitely gonna have to just layer more of that stuff on. Because even this has like clay under it, which means it'll break. Well, it'll probably break. I guess we'll find out.
Frontier stretched out so far you could tell yourself the heavens were close.
See if I can just get some of this out of here. I'm a little scared. I guess it's not the worst thing if it breaks off. I just have to figure out what I can do, because I wanna get that look working. I remember the sculpting tutorial I read, like, I tend to let my mods check the links first and then delete the ones that are offensive spammy. Yeah, like, when I first started doing this, I didn't have any bots or anything. I was just, if, like, a spam link showed up, I just went in and manually deleted it, you know? Because I was like, that's... oh, God, this one broke off too. God damn it. Like, I don't have some, you know, giant following or whatever where I have to worry about getting, like, flooded by spam bots. Good problems? I don't know. But, so I was like, oh, I'll get a bot and use that. People like Nightbot. That seems good. Apparently, some little Nightbot's got his own agenda. So, it's been... Like, I wonder if I could just turn off the moderation altogether. I guess I could just set it to everyone, so then it'll just, like, let anyone post links, and then I just worry about it, you know, later. That way I can keep the little, like, timer messages, and, like, you can type, you know, Discord to get, like, a link to this stupid Discord I have, and stuff like that. Because I want to keep that stuff, but I don't necessarily care about the link moderation. Like I said, I don't think I have enough traffic where it even matters. So it's probably not a thing I really need to worry about. I could just turn it off. Maybe this file is just what I'll use. I just need to build them up enough that I can get under them. So do that. Don't press up at all. Because that one kind of works. Just need to... make it a little more rounded. That one looks good, but I feel like that one's in a spot where I can kind of get under it. I'll try this one and see how that goes. See how long until it breaks off. People like Nightbot, but does not like people. Nightbot does not like people. Yeah, that seems pretty accurate. Nightbot's like the Terminator. He's like, I am here to destroy your comments and your will to live. Like, well, you've succeeded, Nightbot, thanks. What if Nightbot's really just a troll in disguise? It's like, I have good features, but I'm also a pain in the ass. Yes, Nightbot, we know, thank you. I just do this. That's not too bad. It's not quite as Automod is always bullying me in my chat. Yeah, I like glanced at Automod and I was like, this seems like a lot. I don't know. It seems like it's very anti-fun. Automod's like, only Automod talks, no one else talks. Thanks, Automod. You jerk. I broke so many of this guy's hairs off. I don't know how I'm gonna fix them all. I thought those gemmels were gonna like be the solution, but they're not. So it's back to just lots of manual scraping. That's fine. As long as I'm happy with the end result, then I don't really care how I got there. This definitely probably needs to be... I just take this thing off. Maybe I can get under. See, he's really just balding, you know. No fun allowed. No. Yeah, I'll take a look at the Nightbot stuff tomorrow. Because I thought I had it set to like let followers post links, but maybe it didn't. I didn't like enable it or something. I don't know. See, that's kind of how I want it to look. But I want it to be more pointy. Oh god, it's not breaking off. Oh, I see it broke that one off. Okay, that's fine. I gotta finish that anyway. Oh, thanks for the mention there, Ola. I did forget to turn that off. Yeah, I may have forgotten to save it. I'll double check it and see what I might have assumed it was like one of those auto save things, like you toggle a thing and it just like is saved and you don't have to do anything else. That's very possible. Where's my little sanding stick? Maybe I can use that. I saw your nose and was like, that's not a respirator. Truth. I do forget to turn it off. Cause like I'm using my iPad like to my left, and I'm using some app called OBS Blade that lets you like remote control OBS. So it has like, you know, you have your little toggles for the stuff in your scenes and whatnot, and it but I don't have the scene preview open because it uses too much resources. So if I have to switch around in the Spotify or something, so I can't see, like, my computer's off to the side, but it's like very out of view. So I just like forget. Just making excuses for my forgetfulness. I think the key is just to go slow. If I go real slow, it seems to work a little bit better. And then like lightly sand after that. But then it like flattens out this whole other part, and I don't like that. A little better. One day we need to figure out the bots. We need a respirator command, yes. Oh, that's a good one. I wonder if there is like a way to trigger something like that. There might be like an OBS script or a plugin. I know it doesn't like natively pull in the chat, but there might be some way to automate something like that. It's a good idea. No, that's not what I wanted. Did I just break that off? Yes. Alright. Well, I guess I need to give up on trying to carve all these gray bits down, because they're just going to all snap off. Because they all hate me. They're like, you're the worst, and your ideas are the worst, and also you're the worst. Yeah, I would have, if I'd have done this over again, I would have built up in layers. Like I put down all these like strands of like little pipes of clay, and I think the right way would have been to do that and then add epoxy sculpt around them, sculpt that layer, and then put another layer over it, and do the same thing up to, like, you know, the parting line in the hair. So that's one way I think I could have done this better, because I'm like essentially trying to work underneath layers, and it's you know, too fragile and too tight to like reach them. So that's definitely a spot that I goofed up on. Other than that, this file's actually been doing okay for being basically the only tool that makes any real progress. I just don't quite have the control that I would like. I'm not sure how to get that. I just broke more of it off. God darn it. That is a recurring point of frustration. It's almost too soft or too fine of a grip. Oops. It's still in progress. Ultra Magnus is still in progress. He's I got parts in the. Oh, I guess I can pull those parts out of the oven. They're probably cool enough to open up. They gotta cool back down to room temperature. So let me go take a look at those. So much dust. Oh wait, that's right, they're in the pressure tank. I was thinking of the ones that were cooking. These might need to be cooked. I gotta take a look at them. See if they're set enough. Because if this top stuff is too flexible, it's still a little soft. I can like bend this thick part. So this isn't quite set yet. So I gotta put these in the oven. Let them cook for 10 minutes and then cool down. So I'm gonna go put these in there. And I do have some other molds that were in there that I can open up. Okay. Ugh. So that stuff's all in the oven. It's gonna be in there for 10 minutes, and then it's gotta cool down. So however long that takes. These are still slightly warm, but they're probably okay. Let's start with the head. That's probably the easiest one. Imagine you talking like a cooking host with these molds going. Now that we're gonna throw these molds in the oven until golden brown. Yeah, I definitely started talking like that. Putting stuff in the oven, letting it cook. Yeah. So is that like, should I like soft troll Twitch and put, you know, cooking as like one of my tags? Or is that a no-no? Or is Twitch like, we have rules, you have to follow them? Yeah. Do that later. I don't know why I'm doing that. Let's see. So. You totally could, it's not wrong. You are cooking. We live in a society. Doesn't mean you can eat what you bake though. Truth. I mean, I guess you can, right? If TikTok and YouTube have taught us anything. Yeah. Oh, TikTok. There's another thing I'm trying to... It's not even figuring it out. It's just like making content for it. Like, it's gotta be super short. It's gotta be complete, right? Like, I have a couple... I have a small handful of videos on TikTok, and they're... You know, they've gotten some views. I wouldn't say they're anything spectacular. But there's definitely like a theme of like the kind of things that do well on there. The mold bake challenge. Can you bake your molds and then post pictures of them? So there's I I don't know how well you can see this. It's got mold release on them. That's much darker than I thought it was going to be. Let's see if I can get the focus. 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 Kind of. I guess it's just too dark for it to focus. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Anyway. So there's that. So that was the overflow. I wasn't... because I didn't know how much resin these were going to take. Now I do. So... let's see, what else was there? This is all... these are replacement parts for a figure I'm gonna put it in the store later this week. Because I broke 2 of them. So I had to make replacements. I also had to, like, troubleshoot them and see why they broke. These are actually darker than I had planned, but... and I barely put any dye into it, I felt like. These came out much darker than the previous ones. It's always tough to gauge, like, with small amounts of resin, like how the dye is going to affect it. If it's going to be very dark or very light. Yeah, when I first got that toaster oven, I got it to bake the gray clay. So I was like, oh, when I sculpt stuff, I can, you know, move a little quicker because I can cook it and then come back and sculpt a little bit more. But I've been using it for casts and other stuff too. So I've definitely been doing a lot more cooking than I did, like, you know, 6 months ago. So, I mean, isn't there like there's like a social eating as like a tag on Twitch, which I find strange. But, I mean, clearly I don't know anything about the internet, so I guess I can put a cooking tag. Yeah, camera's always like, no. It's like, I am here, but I am not your servant. Camera's like, I take suggestions and that's about it. And then I ignore them. Mukbang? I think I'm unfamiliar with that term. Or food? I'm not really sure. Yeah, that's probably okay. I wouldn't put this on a figure just yet, but I think it's solid. Breaking Bad? I don't know. I mean, I guess there's probably a whole, like, you know, resin probably doesn't show up on a metal detector, so I'm sure there's, you know, something we could do with that. It's like a Korean word that means social eating. Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't know that was the name of it. We have a friend, well, my partner's, one of her lab mates from her last place of academia, and he's South Korean, and he told us about that. He was like, yeah, it's like it's a thing. People like to watch other people eat. I was like, okay, I don't understand that, but I accept that that's a thing that exists. Dishes are done. That'll probably get old eventually, me saying that. It reminds me of this movie from the 80s, I guess? Early 90s, I don't know. Adventures in Babysitting. And there's this, like, scene where, you know, this girl, I guess, is watching this group of kids, and something happens to the parents or whatever, and so it's just them, and they're, like, taking care of the house. So the one kid, like, is supposed to do the dishes, so he, like, goes outside, and his brother or whatever is, like, throwing them into the air one by one, and he's, like, shooting them with a BB gun or something. And then once he's, like, destroyed all of them, he's like, dishes are done, man. And not that it's, like, relevant to the bell going off, but it just reminds me of that. So there's a connection inside of my brain, but not necessarily anywhere else. Let's see, we just need to go back into that mold. I put that away. Mukbang, what a weird word. But I guess it's not an English word, so it doesn't need to make sense. Or feel correct because it's non-native or whatever. Yeah, this part seems like it's okay. I was thinking about maybe trying to mix two resins, if I could make this a little... I don't want to make it flexible, but I also want it to be less brittle. So there's like a trade-off, I guess. I think this one I have to cut both of these off. The molds for these next two pieces are kind of weird. They're not as efficient as I would like. Okay, that's just out then, I guess. I made some poor choices when I designed these molds, so I have to live with them until I make new ones for a different part, because I'm not going to remake them for this. When they work fine, even if they're a little frustrating. I'm always a little afraid I'm gonna, like, break something. I think that was just flashing. Fingers crossed. That's fine. Oh, God. I get to be difficult. Yeah, I needed to fix these because I want to put this thing in the store this week, so this had to take priority over the Ultra Magnus parts. Sadly. But with the ones that we're baking now, I think he's like half done. think all that is left are the soft parts. Softer parts. And that's only 3 or 4 molds, I think. Whereas the parts that use the hard plastic, there's a lot more of those. And I trim all this stuff at once. It takes too long to do them all individually or separately or whatever. It's weird because there's like, you know, the casting part, and after you've done all the work and molding work and sculpting and whatnot, but like the casting part is like, there's so many stages to it. Like you make the casts, right, and now I'm like baking them, which is a step, and then you have to pull them like I'm doing now, and then I have to clip everything off, and then I have to go back and sand them again. Well, not again, but like the first time. And then I do like a second pass of like fine sanding to try to smooth out, you know, scuffs and stuff like that. So just making the casts from like pouring the resin to the final like part, or not final part, but like the final figure or whatever, there's like a bunch of steps in between that take a bit of time. I mean, obviously they take time, everything takes time, but like, I guess what I mean is like they can take significant time. Because you're like, oh, everything's cast, it's done. Like, no, it's not done. I mean, it's done if you don't care how it looks. But if you want it to look like, you know, semi-finished or semi-professional, I guess, then there's, you know, a degree of cleanup work that needs to be done. And that's for each cast. So for each figure, so each dinner. No, I'm actually getting pretty hungry. Each figure's like 18 parts or something. So, you know, doing all that cleaning, like 18 times a dozen, you know, it adds up. Yeah, actually, I'm wanting to get some dinner here pretty soon. Oh, this is all looking good. Looks like there was some resin stuck in there. Whoops. Guess I need to be a little more careful. This one it leaks a little bit. There's a lot of flashing. More than I would like. But it's not the worst offender. The one of the torso halves leaks pretty bad inside. So that one's always got a shitload of flashing on it. .601. It's almost that time. It is almost that time. I mean, it is that time, but, you know, we're not quite finished yet. So, but we're getting close. Alright, so that's all the replacement parts for the one-off. It's going to go in the shop later this week, probably Friday-ish. So I need to get this guy cleaned up and so I can take some photos and try to put together some posts about it. Actually, I'm gonna do my first email blast, so that's gonna be something else I'm learning how to do to promote this this one-off. So I'll give first dibs to people on the email list. We'll probably post it on Instagram. I might announce at both places and then do like maybe it'll be like live to buy like a day earlier than it says on Instagram. So then there's like, I don't have to like delay or make two different, you know, release mentions or whatever. I don't know anything about marketing. I'm learning as I go. Much like everything else. So, speaking of dinner, being done for dinner, I'm gonna be done for dinner now-ish. So, I'm gonna thank y'all for hanging out for this whole time while I bumble and, you know, talk into the wind and talk to you guys and talk to myself and curse Nightbot. And, I don't know if I'll be back on Friday because I'm gonna get my vaccination and I don't know how I'm gonna feel, you know, and whatever. So I'm just gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave Friday as a maybe. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday for sure. Thanks, y'all. See you later.